Is with us now. So Mr. Trump in the White House, Mrs. May probably just went through the biggest self-inflicted and unnecessary wound in modern British politics. Is the Anglosphere in decline under these two?
I thought the Anglosphere was in decline for the last 20-30 years, and I've allowed myself a brief moment of optimism from last year's referendum until now. For these reasons, I think the Anglosphere has been in decline, Britain and America, the West, the English-speaking world, because of a profound demoralisation, which I would date to the end of the Second World War. As a result of which Europe lost its belief in itself, as it believed that it had to be saved from itself. Britain ended up, at the end of the war, bankrupt, in hock to America, lost the empire. Its elites were demoralised, were then vulnerable to a whole slew of anti-Western ideologies, which destroyed our education system, which told us that we didn't have a national identity, we had to be multicultural, and so on. Similar thing went on in America, took different forms.
Okay, what is the Anglosphere, by the way?
The Anglosphere is the English-speaking world led by Britain and America. Britain is the fount, the originator of political liberty.
But there's plenty of English-speaking countries not in decline. Australia's not in decline.
Well, hang on.
Canada's not in decline.
Well,
New Zealand's not in decline. And let me, since the Indian elite speaks English, India certainly isn't in decline.
It depends what we mean by decline. Britain is obviously a major world economy, but when I say decline, what I mean is it doesn't have any confidence in itself anymore, in its own identity. It doesn't understand or want to know what it historically believes in, what it supports. It doesn't have the ability to defend itself anymore. What I thought about Brexit and about the election of Donald Trump, I think one has to put the man aside from what brought him to power. I have great reservations about Donald Trump. I think he has many psychological flaws. But what brought him to power is what I think brought Brexit to being as well, which was the belief by millions of people in Britain and America. In their own words, they wanted their country back. They wanted to become, once again, a self-governing Western
but what's that got to do
nation.
with the Anglosphere?
It has everything to do with the Anglosphere, because you only want to be a self-governing nation if you believe in yourself. And I think it's a kind of benign circle, that you have to become a self-governing nation to believe in yourself again. America had a different set of problems. America was internally guilty at its history of racism. It came to believe that it was responsible for all the ills of the world. It, over many years, stopped being this force for good in the world. It has to recover that again.
What do you make of this argument?
I think Melanie is fundamentally right. I think there is something peculiar and particular about the United States and Britain and the way in which representative government has formed in those two places. Magna Carta is thought to be our inspiration, but actually Magna Carta is even more the inspiration of the United States. There was a point at which they kind of overtook us. But I think we do have a particular view about representative democracy. And in 1941, there were 11 democracies in the world, and there are now, I think, about 105. They're all rather young, including ours and including the United States. But I think when the European Union began to embark on a project where democracy was a secondary consideration, where there was not accountability, where institutions were not responsive to their populations, then I think we entered a period of great danger.
All right. No, I've got to bring Alan in.
I disagree.
Too many monologues here.
I disagree completely, because, I mean, the thing about the European Union, incidentally, if it was a democracy, it would be replicating a country. Its whole issue as to why you don't have the election of the commissioners.
But is the Anglosphere
because it doesn't
decline
pretend to be a country.
And does it matter?
I'm glad you asked a question of what it is. It seemed to me that since the Second World War, the baby boomer generation has done very well. And the problems started, reflected in the EU referendum and in Trump's election, from the crash, Lehman Brothers collapse, crash onwards, is the fact that people don't believe they're sharing the proceeds of growth, that the economy that was a tool of society is now the other way round, that society is a tool of the economy.
We only have a few seconds. Can it be put back together again?
Definitely, but we have to do Brexit properly, and Mr. Trump has to survive his own vulnerabilities and inadequacies, as well as the attempt.
Everything seems to come back to Brexit.
Absolutely.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.